That's a pen.
It doesn't matter what it is. We believe.
It's just when you got closer to the computer, it got better.
Oh, so you need to use the pen and become closer, yeah?
If you want, yeah, you can. All right, then. Well,
just keep prompting me.
It works. We got.
If it's not working, just go. Don't say it's not working. Just go coughing like that. That'll be fine.
It's fine.
Okay.
We'll go with it.
Okay.
Here we go. In 30 seconds.
There we go. 30 seconds. Okay.
Oh no, the nails are kicking in again. I don't want to go on.
Since factory travels and all that.
Yeah.
Sound good?
30 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, keep talking, because when you go
All right,
quiet,
here we
I
go.
think I've lost it again. Okay.
Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Have you ever wondered what hypnosis might be and what it can do for you? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Hypnosis Everywhere with your host, Inez Simpson. This is the show that talks to everyone, from the experienced practitioner to the cautiously curious, and yes, even the skeptics. Now, here's Inez Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Hypnosis Everywhere on Voice America. And I'm glad to say that I'm back home in Parksville. And it's nice to do the show from my office. So I want to welcome Bob Burns the second time to the show, and he's going to talk today about a lot of things, and he's going to entertain us because that's what he is an entertainer. And he's also one of the coolest guys I know. Are you going to be cool, Bob? Yeah?
I think so, yeah.
And don't forget they can see you on Facebook. So
Oh my God, is that right? God.
Anyway, so welcome to Hypnosis Everywhere, and we're gonna talk about the Swan 2. And I actually since you haven't been on for a while, I think you were my first guest. And so now I'm going to just get you just to give a little bit of background about yourself, how long you've been in the field of helping.
Shall I go?
Yes, please.
Well, Inez, hi folks, anyone who's listening out there. I hypnotized my first person in 1973. I was a singer in a band. We'll go over it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So I got a shock, they got a shock, and I went away and thought about it for a couple of years, then got back involved in it. But around about 78, 5 years after that, I really started getting involved in therapy and stuff like that. So I've done stage hypnosis all over Europe. I've done street hypnosis, but I'm mainly a clinical hypnotist working from my place here in Montrose in Scotland. And I don't do any, I don't teach in hypnosis academies, but I do mentor people from my home, as you know, Inez. They travel here, spend a couple of days with me. And I also do 2 or 3 day workshops all around the world. I do a fair bit like that. So right now, I'm an old age pensioner. So I've cut down to, as of 2 months ago, I cut down to working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday only. And I spend more time doing writing, teaching, some other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you just got it to be an old age pensioner a couple months before me. So I think we're on the same page, and as usual.
Sure, fast. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, this is, if we call this semi-retirement, it's busier than most of the world years I worked. So it's great. It's great. So the Swan 2, let's talk about the Swan 2, because now we can go into it. First, I guess to do that, you might have to say something about Swan 1 too.
Well, the Swan 1 is mainly a process, is it? It's a protocol that I do. I brought it into the world of hypnosis circa early part of 2013. So it's been about for 5 years now. It operates in 85 countries around the world. It works with mainly hypnotherapists, but also NLPers, healers, psychologists. And as you know, I mentor lots of different people. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had a consultant psychiatrist all the way from India, and they were very much interested in this thing that we call the Swan.
Yeah.
So just recently, in fact a few weeks ago, as a download from my website, we now have a 2-hour film of the Swan 2, which is actually called The Swan Speaks,
Yes.
where I spend a lot of time with people inviting their or part within their subconscious to say what the problem is, to put their case forward about why they have a problem, and see if you can fix it. Yeah? So we kind of have a powwow with parts within the subconscious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's, and that you insist that it's not formal hypnosis, but like everything I say on this show is everything's hypnosis. So I still say it is. We're still doing work with the mind. We're still doing all that. It isn't formal hypnosis as such, and that's what makes it so ideal, I think. Because what I do is very formal hypnosis, and yet we're on the same page. We're both talking to that other part of the human instead of just talking to their conscious. So, and that's what we do, and that's how we get things changed. So, the Swan 2, I've been promoting it to some of my friends because I don't think all of them got to Swan 1. So now I'm sure the 2 are going to be much more prevalent. And there's also one more thing I got to say, because Lance Baker told everyone that you and I were going to be on today. So I just want to say hi to our Australian listeners. And you'll see Bob soon and me a little later. I don't know when you're going. When are you going to Australia?
I'm going to Australia in November, and then after that I'm going to the North and South Islands of New Zealand. So I'm spending the first part with Lance Baker.
Okay, so you're just before me then, not very much before.
Yeah.
Anyway, too bad I'd just get into your luggage and go to New Zealand with you, because I'd love to go to New Zealand. But anyway, it's just sort of part of New Zealand is just like Parksville here. So next time you come to Parksville, you can just pretend you're there.
Well, it's a beautiful country. I've never been to the south part of New Zealand before.
Yeah.
Everyone said it's lovely. In fact, we had a bit of a joke this week, because you might be aware that the country voted the most beautiful country in the world this year by people around the world was Scotland. And yet, strangely enough, New Zealand itself is just absolutely gorgeous. It really, really is. And when we were there, I could not tell the difference between parts I was looking at in New Zealand and indeed Scotland.
Yeah.
It's a big world. It's a big, beautiful world. I can find places like that everywhere.
And places, every place has its unique beauty. So, people, and it all just depends on what you like. And that's sort of like hypnosis, because we have all the styles. And this is what I say to the people listening is find a hypnotist that suits you. And I'm promoting all styles of hypnosis in this show, including yours and mine, of course. Yeah. And, it's not the only thing you do is the swanning. You do a lot more than that. So maybe you can give us a little more input into what
sure. The workshops I'm doing this year, for the first time ever, I'm now teaching. I'm doing a master's next week in the Holy Isle in the west coast of Scotland. I'm doing a 5-day master's. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm doing lucid dreaming. And I've decided after many, many years to bring lucid dreaming into my teachings of hypnosis. They're hand in glove. They truly are. And when I'm doing in a lucid dream state, it is almost identical to a form of hypnotic state. Mm-hmm. So I'm bringing in lucid dreaming, and Lance and I over there in Sydney, in fact Newcastle, just outside Sydney, in Australia. I'm going to be also teaching. I thought it was time. It doesn't really go with hypnosis, people would argue, but a lot of people in this wonderful woo-woo world that we live in, a lot of people are talking about energies, energy healing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be talking about energy healing because it's been asked for, but I'm also bringing into that spiritual healing. So I thought if people are going to learn spiritual healing, they might as well learn it by somebody who knows at least a little bit of what I'm talking about. And I've been doing spiritual healing since the 1970s. So along with the courses that I run, I'm going to be showing people the initial stages of energy healing, spiritual healing, and showing them the difference, because there is a huge difference between energy and spiritual healing. Yeah?
Okay. A lot of people would probably... So can you explain a slight difference? Even I know you can't get into a huge thing because that's part of, it takes more than 2 minutes, but can you sort of...
Yeah, so in a very scattered nutshell, we'll do it this way, in my right, I've got a guy called Tom, and he's a psychic.
Yeah.
And in my left, I've got a guy called Dick, and he's a medium. So there's a big difference there.
Okay.
So the psychic, and again, this is very, very rough, but the psychic can do psychic stuff, let's say, so valuable, I realize that. He can do psychic stuff but can't read into the future. Can't go into the Akashic record, if you like.
Yes.
But the medium might be able to.
Okay.
Now, if you change that and move from message givers into healers, the energy healer will give of their own energy.
Okay.
But the spiritual healer will be used as a conduit
Yes.
for spirit healing to take place. By the way, that's a very, very scattered nutshell.
Well, yeah. I mean, it sort of leads me into all kinds of other thinking, but I'm going to try and stay on track. It's not always the easiest, but, usually because, many spiritual healers have short lives. And if they're using their own energy, I can totally understand that. So that makes total sense to me. So anyway, moving back onto hypnosis.
Well, if you just hold up for a second, this is really important. It sounds like an excuse to carry weight, but it is true that physical mediums, if you look at what's called physical mediums, who do, transfiguration, do reports, so on and so forth, once they study physical mediumship, they nearly all put on tons of weight that they can't put off. It's an interesting one, yeah? It's just
Yeah.
As I'm talking like this, I don't know if you're aware, this light's flickering away.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure it's just the electric, but you never know.
I was just going to say, well, maybe I can use that as my excuse why this weight has been with me for a long time. But
Keep talking. I'm going to switch on the light. Keep talking.
okay, well, it would be nice to see you. I'll keep talking.
There he is.
Anyway, so the Swan 2 to me is a great step and it's a great thing to do with clients from the point of view that something is shown to them coming from themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just like in SP, I sort of do it a different way, but we're always about just the client is really doing the show. And I think that is the whole thing is you and I give the empowerment to the client. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. So I have a friend, for example, who is a healer or a medium or whatever. And when they get involved with a client, they reveal to the client their powers.
Yeah.
The work with Swan is to reveal to the client their
powers. Yeah. And that's the
How
difference.
they can use it from there on, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what, because when I'm teaching people, I always say, well, what's the main thing? And I said, the main thing is that I always empower my clients. And it's all about that. And I think that Swan 2 and Swan 1 are on that same page. And that's why you and I have been such good friends since we first met.
Yeah.
And because what is it? Birds of a feather stick together? Oh, flock together. Yes. Flock.
Only when they collide, I think. And then it's never a good ending.
Anyway, so where do you want to take this conversation next, Bob? Because I think, you have some great stories coming from the Swan.
Well, I have a very, in my own therapy, I've got this, as you know, Bob Burns Therapy, my own forum. Somebody there just last week happened to mention that his name is Mark, and he happened to mention that while he was doing the Swan, his Swan started chatting to him. Yes and no's, and seemed agitated. He asked questions. He went into direct voice himself on his own. It's an interesting one when that happens. It can be quite scary. But his Swan told him that his girlfriend was pregnant. So rather than do anything, he came to see me. Men get quite scared. They don't know what to do. So he came to tell me, the wise one. And then I started panicking. I said, well, I don't know. What should we do? So I said, you have a plan? And he said, without even smiling, yeah, I'm going to get one of the pregnancy testing kits. I said, what, you're going to hit her over the head and force her to do the he said, I'll talk. And anyway, he went and got this. He told her what happened. She listened to him. And she took the test. And guess what? She wasn't pregnant. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that she did admit. She did confess that she hadn't had a period.
To the computer too.
Yeah, she hadn't had a period for 2 months. Yeah, and when she took the pregnancy test, she had a period within 1 hour of taking it. Now, I'd love to tell you what this means, but I have no idea. It could be complete nonsense, but it's nice when we get these little fun things. It's like the old thing to do with the PSI itself, PSI. Anything that was bumping the night, anything that's other than normal. Psi is fantastic, and millions upon millions of people know that. Millions upon millions of people do not, so they think it's rubbish. But the interesting thing about Psi is it only works when it wants to work. Yeah? It's not a science. We can't say, it's not like 7/8 or 56 today, it's just 7/8 will be 56 tomorrow. That's how not how this stuff works. It's like it's got a mind of its own. But we get some interesting
engineer
things.
tells me that you're still relatively quiet, so I'm going to make you yell or something.
Well, let's see if I do this and take it up real close like that. Let's
Better.
get engineer how
Much
that's going.
better. It's much
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'm sure.
I mean, this microphone's rubbish. I don't know why I'm bothered with that. No. But there we are. Yeah. The world is
Okay.
now cheering. Oh my God, he's the most loud. I love him. Yeah, it's great.
So, any other sort of stories in a more normal realm on the Swan?
We were talking, I was doing a thing for the stroke group here in Montrose this morning. I do a thing for them once a year. As you know, I've got one day a week where I do pain control. I don't charge for that. So I get a lot of my stroke people come to that, people with COPD, so on and so forth. But once a year, we do a big day, and I do it for a few different groups. So today was my 17th year on the trope with my stroke group. And we were talking about just interesting things that have happened. And I happened to be telling them about this client that I saw in Eastleigh in Hampshire not too long ago. And I don't know how I got myself into that situation. My wife was always giving me into trouble by getting into situations. And she says, well, how can you get into these situations? How nobody normal would do that? Anyway, the situation was, I met this woman in a hairdresser, and she was in agony. And I told her that I could maybe do something to help her, maybe. And I ended up back in her house at 5 o'clock that night because she was so busy. So there's me, there's a woman, there's a husband, and a big black dog. And they're complete strangers. And I'm like 570 miles away from home. Yeah. And the husband and the dog, she asked them to leave the room, go upstairs. The husband already wasn't happy with me. He didn't like me at all. So I do some healing with the lady, who's a wonderful subject. But we're sitting side by side, yeah? And it's going great. But suddenly I hear this noise coming down the stairs. And it's not the noise of human feet. It's the noise of more than one set of feet, yeah? And the door opens, then comes this black nose, followed by the dog, a big black Labrador. And it paces the room back and forth, looking at me and kind of half smiling at me. And before I know it, climbs up, doesn't jump, climbs up behind me, gets its forelegs around my neck, and starts, what can I say? Starts dancing with me, yeah? So I'm there, the dog's doing its thing, yeah? Making kind of noises. I don't know what that is. The woman's sitting next to me, and all I can think of is my wife saying to me, "You idiot! Look what you've done now! How are you going to get out of this?" And to be honest, I had no idea how I was going to get out of it. Next thing, the dog's head comes over my shoulder and looks at me, kind of smiles while it's dancing. Yeah, and suddenly, the woman, who seemed to be in deep trance, just screamed, "Stop it!" Punches the dog in the jaw. The dog howls, jumps off. The woman goes back into trance state. I kid you not. Then the next thing I hear, boom, 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 boom. That's the noise of human feet, yeah? Coming down the stair. This big muscular guy comes in with just a vest and says to me, "What's going on?" I try and keep my voice low, but I hear myself saying, "Nothing!" You know? Anyway, 1, 2, wide awake. The woman wakes up. She's in no pain. It's one of these little miracle things that happen now and again when we get lucky. The guy who hated me now loves me. He's taken off his boots and he wants me to do the arthritis in his feet. And I'm screaming that the one thing I don't do, funny enough, is feet arthritis. And I managed to get out of there. I'll never see them again, hopefully. But the funny thing is, I cannot get that dog out of my mind. It's ridiculous. You know?
Maybe it was the energy created by the dog that did all the work.
It was certainly a universal conscious thing. I'll tell you that for nothing. Yeah.
No,
It was kind of like the law of attraction. Yeah.
We've got a minute till break. So when we come back, I'm going to ask you any kind of things. We're down to 30 seconds, it says. Anyway, we're going to do some more chatting about the swan and anything else, and maybe bring in some controversy.
Okay.
I
Do you
know
have
you
something up your sleeve?
I do.
Okay.
I'll have something up my sleeve. And
Well,
we'll
I'm
do
ready.
that
I
after
love a good
we're
argument.
going to go to break. And remember, Facebook Live is still seeing us. Okay, off to break. Thanks very much.
Hey, Facebook America.
Okay, so actually, Martin says we're just going to say goodbye to Facebook Live and go off it, and we will keep recording and we will post it later so most people can see it, because I think it's difficult for you, for me, and that way they can watch it better without all the extra stuff. So say goodbye to them and tell them we'll see them later.
Goodbye, Facebook Live. See you guys later. Take it easy. Perfect.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So now we can talk in the break.
1-0, huh?
Is it?
I don't know anything. Don't tell me anything,
Oh, okay.
Martin.
I
Don't
won't
tell
you.
him.
Okay.
Don't tell him.
I won't tell you who it's 1-0 for then.
Yeah, okay. So,
So anyway, do you want to go now to the
Evidence.
evidence-based thing?
yeah, so we're just recording it, so we can just go. Is that right?
Not yet. No, we got to wait for the radio to come back on. They're on their break. So this
But
is
they-
the time that we can talk about anything, because now nobody's listening
What's
to us.
what's the difference of you doing it live and just recording it and putting it out at a certain time, saying it's live? You know.
It's, yeah, you can do that with Facebook, but most people are waiting for it because it's at the same 11 PST. They know it's on. And then, so now actually we'll start maybe doing that.
Zoom is just basically an extra
Yeah.
extra social media for hosts and clients to use. So that way, instead of logging onto the website, you know, a lot of people have Facebook already downloaded to their phone or
Yeah.
their tablet or whatever they have, and so they just go straight to Facebook. And so it's just that extra third-party layer of us getting it getting more reach.
Yeah.
It's a bit different recording live than pre-record, though.
Yeah, and it has a whole different energy if we do this live than if we are doing it later. For some reason, you're the energy man. You should.
Well, it is. The energy is great. In fact, not only am I doing it live, but I see myself on a stage, naked, naked on a stage.
You're listening to
Maybe a
Hypnosis Everywhere,
cage.
The Simpson Protocol. To reach the show today, please call into 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Inez, that's INES, at InezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Welcome back to Hypnosis Everywhere, and with my guest Bob Burns. And I was going to open up a can of controversy. Now, I did talk to Nick Ebden about this, and he's sort of on the other side of the coin as me. So now I'm going to talk to you because I know you'll probably be on my side of the coin. So this way, we're talking about evidence-based theory of having hypnosis, using only hypnosis that's evidence-based. And I can actually, maybe can Martin explain that? Or Bob, you want to explain that, what that means?
Well, you kind of jumped to me with that one. It would be nice if I had an actual quote on it. We'll do it nice and simple for people listening. It'll be
Well,
better
that's
if I
what
did
it's
this way.
about. Yeah, simple.
So evidence-based it seems like it's fairly self-evident, is it? It's evidence-based. But in reality, evidence-based is linked to the science side of life. If I take some evidence and show it to you right now, it's not evidence-based because it's me showing you something and telling a story about it. In fact, let's give it the name. The opposite of evidence-based is anecdotal, isn't it?
Yes.
It's me telling you about something wonderful that happened in my therapy room, and it also happened last week, and it also happened last month. And no matter how many times I tell you of these wonderful things that happen, it's still only, here comes the word, only anecdotal, because it's a guy called Bob telling a story.
Yeah.
Evidence-based is where Suter and Riglishi, 1978, Oxford, sit down, do tests on it with 350 people, and these are the results they get. And that now gets called evidence-based, is by people with a degree, people who are academic, and it gets accepted through science as being evidence-based.
Okay.
Now, in all fairness to Nick Ebden, Nick and I have talked about this several months ago. In all fairness to Nick, he doesn't fall into evidence-based completely. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And he absolutely, well, he has. He absolutely knows. He absolutely knows that it's not the case that because somebody says it's evidence-based, that's the case. He understands the argument for anecdotal evidence. So
yes, I think he's sort of
instead of a guy called Bob telling you this is what happens, Bob takes something, discusses it with friends, who discuss it with friends, who discuss it with friends, and before you know it, we've got several thousand of these people working with tens of thousands of people, all getting the same result.
Yes.
So I would put forward an argument that anecdotal evidence is in truth real evidence-based work, but it's not academic. Yeah.
Well, I'm totally on the same page as you. But the other thing that's for me is, do you know that science has changed every decade? So which science do we have to be evidence-based with? And otherwise, also, the person doing the experiment, no matter what, when it's done, it has an effect on the outcome. You remember, I don't know if you know the old story about Gary Schwartz in Arizona. He was testing mediums, and he got great outcomes, just wonderful outcomes. So that's on the west coast of the States, and then on the east coast, the skeptic guy was going to redo this because he thought it was crap. And so he did, and that's what he got because his intention, all that. So from my point of view, evidence-based is not possible. It's not possible in our realm of being the way we are, the way people function, all that stuff. You observe something, you affect it. And
yeah, we know that. But there will be certain things that are factual, i.e. mathematics, I guess. In other words, if there's 8 cases of oranges, if there's 8 oranges in a case, and there's 7 cases, it will be 56, blah, blah, blah. So mathematics is fairly pure. Now, the challenge with the evidence-based people is this, that they're not open. They say they're open enough to look, but that's mainly a lie. Not with all,
no.
Most mainly a lie. They kind of say that to kind of get along, you know.
And it's you and I, well, you've been in this business even longer than me, but over the nearly 20 years that I've been in doing hypnosis, the outcomes have been my evidence. So I know it's anecdotal, and that's the only way to go. There's no way that I could prove anything if I was being tested. There's not.
We have a situation. So if you look, for example, in The Swan Speaks, that I just released the other week, you get a lady who is eating too much. She comes to see me. We do The Swan. The part speaks through her. The part claims to be called Anne or Anna. The part claims to have died in Nazi Germany, 1946, of starvation. She tells me that her husband was shot earlier by either the British or Americans. She doesn't know. I ask her if she'd like to leave my client alone, and she says no. And I tell her, well, you might not know this, but I can have you removed. And she laughs at me. Yeah, it's a great piece on camera. She just goes, as if I'm an idiot. So what I do is I then go and make contact with the husband, who she hasn't met since early 1940s. So we're talking now about 75 years. I connect them together. She gets quite emotional. She leaves the client. She turns around before she goes and says, "Thank you." The client stops eating all this rubbish and drops 2.5 stone. I'd say 35 pounds for our viewers at that side. So, but remember, I'm not saying it's real at all. I'm saying it's real or imagined, but I'm saying the story is real. The story is absolutely true. And if I took that and gave it to some evidence-based scientists, I don't know if they know what to do with it, because they might not have the skill to do that kind of stuff. Last week in my therapy room was a consultant psychiatrist who just sat there shaking his head. As one came in, one after the other, and we got some great results. What does he do for that? He gives them drugs. So if you hear voices with him, in fact, here's a good question for all your listeners. Go and ask any psychiatrist anywhere in the world, do you actually fix people? And watch their face. And the answer is no. Psychiatry fixes nobody. It controls them until they can either fix themselves or just controls that situation. There's a lovely thing in YouTube about that, where A psychiatrist gets asked 8, 9, 10 times and keeps ducking the question, and then finally says, "No, okay, I've never fixed anyone. I've not. Psychiatry does not fix people, and it doesn't. But guess what, Inez? We do, or we show them how to fix themselves.
Yeah, it has nothing to do.
But guess what?
Yeah.
It's rubbish because it's only anecdotal.
That's right. But anecdotal, we've had some great outcomes. And can you do it with everybody? No, because it's not us that's doing it. It's them, right? So it's an individual thing. And if people have great desire, I always say you need the desire for change, and you need to have that you're willing to do the work to do it. And that's about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's huge. So even for just the listeners today to understand that their mind is that incredible, that it can create a positive change in them when they follow the real or imagined processes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you'll know, Inez, there's a guy called Mark in my therapy. You know, we did some stuff maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, which has led to us having a pain convention.
Yes.
The 8th of September in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So we're going to get 6 people demonstrating how they do this stuff. And one of the guys I did at that time, that would be maybe 5 weeks ago, was a guy called Mark, and I filmed it, took it to the therapy room. So this is a guy who's been just in agony. I think it's L4 and L5 in his back is in agony. L3 and L6 is now weakening now. But in no time at all, you know, he's now off all medication. It's been 5 weeks. His pain's just gone. His pain's gone because he was embracing a message.
Yeah.
And what we got him to do was to stop embracing the bloody message.
Yes.
You know, and he's fine. He's doing great.
Yeah.
Contact me again today. He's doing just swell.
Well, you know, years ago, I worked with a psychologist doing brain state technologies, which was great because you do get to see the brain map and all the theory of my hypnosis I could see play out on the screen. But with my brain, my brain map said that I was in chronic pain down the right side. And I sort of went, you know, and then I thought about it. And yes, I had been years and years before. And then so the psychologist said to me, well, Inez, you're just in denial. And I said, well, hallelujah. This is so strange. Would it be better if I'd walked around the earth in total pain for all that time instead of being in denial, as she called it? It seems kind of crazy to me. And that's because I no longer embrace the message. Mm-hmm. Right?
And most of the time that when we do, because that's my background, as you know, psychology, and where I went from that was into hypnoanalysis, and that was sitting with somebody over at least 5-6 sessions, finding out in almost a Freudian way how it started. Yeah. And what we discovered now is another guy who trained exactly the same as me was our good friend Freddie Jacquin. Yeah. And what we've discovered now is if you're a good hypnotherapist, you can take somebody, you can sit them down. If you can get control of the part within them, I know that Freddie will mainly do suggestion. He's a wonderful therapist doing that. I mainly go for a part within the subconscious, but we both work just fine. And we discover that we can get great results just within one session. Although I advocate never, ever, ever do only one session with a client. Never. Yeah.
Well, I say the same, and sometimes I used to prod people to take more than one, but it seems to happen one at a time, and then it's their choice when they come back. So, but I usually, just because you've dealt with that issue, your whole life is still, I've been working on myself. I know I'm a really hard case, but I've been working every day on myself since I became a hypnotist. And life gets better, and something happens in your life. We use our own tools to get better, and that's what talking the talk and walking the walk is all about. And people say to me, I had someone say in class to me, "Well, how come you still need glasses?" I said, "Well, I have a hierarchy of need, and that's on my lower parts. I have many more things that I need to work on." So. Understanding that we are still human beings, people expect us to see their approximation of the perfect human being because we're hypnotists and we work on ourselves. Well, most of us were very wounded healers to start with. Mm-hmm. That's why we got into the field in the first place, is because we had great outcomes. We wanted to help other people. And understand that we are not perfect. We are human beings, and we live it, and we live what we do, and we walk the walk, most of us anyway. I'm waiting for a really profound statement.
You normally don't only talk that long. I expected much more from you. So very briefly, before we started this, and as you asked me about, because we've been talking the last month about this thing called DMT.
Yeah.
And I told you, and as you know, me and a whole group of people who are involved in hypnotherapy have decided to get involved with plant life.
Yes.
We're not becoming druggies. We're not taking drugs.
No.
Yeah, we are, because it is kind of illegal, isn't it, in this country? So we leave the country to do it. But we got involved in this wonderful thing. Any listeners can look it up, this DMT. And you asked me to talk a little bit about it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I left the country. I left the country a couple of weeks ago because it's illegal in the country. So I had to leave the country. Are you okay there? Yeah. So I had to leave the country because it's illegal in the country. So I left, and I took DMT on 2 days, on 2 separate days, and it was great. It was everything I was told it was. It was absolutely fantastic. So it really was like a different kind of reality for me, but it was more real than this. And that's almost impossible to say, but nearly every single person I've talked to says that. It's more real than this reality. But like I said, I left the country because it's illegal. It's illegal in this country. I left the country to make sure it was legal.
And that brings me to an idea, the Matrix, the movie, you take the
Yeah,
pill and all that. And when you say it's more real than your reality, it brings me back to that. Who knows what reality that we're all functioning, this agreed on reality that we live here, and each one of us is totally different. What's such a thing as reality?
Absolutely.
There's none. And,
absolutely.
that's why when we're working with clients, we always say we're working with their reality or what's imagined or real to them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's,
well, I got an interesting one yesterday from someone asking me. They've had someone referred to them, and this person is just confidence. That's all it is. But the person who's coming to see them has told them that they have multi-personality disorder. And they want to know, can I work with them, and can I do this thing that you do, Bob Burns, because you've been to one of my things? Can I do the Swan? And that's it's a sticky question, is it? Because I haven't seen the client, I don't know the client.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where it's almost important not to open your mouth and speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's many different nuances to that.
But the interesting one, what I told them was, I got a call about a year ago from someone about 80 miles away from here, and it was a psychiatric nurse, and she told me she's been doing psychiatry for 20 years. And she says, I've started hearing voices. I said, oh my God, what happened there? And she said, well, I went to see my doctor, and my doctor sent me to see a psychiatrist. Unfortunately, she said, it's a psychiatrist I've been working with for 20 years. We're in first name terms. We work in the same room together. And he was surprised that I went to the doctor first. I said, anyway, what did he tell you? And she says, well, he told me that I've got borderline multi-personality disorder. And I says, okay. And I says, and what did you tell him? She says, I told him to bugger off, because I'm coming to see you. that's really interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
And as I was telling the good doctor who came to see me last week, for some strange reason that I cannot put my finger on, I have lots of not psychiatrists, but psychiatric nurses in my client bank. Yeah. I've got tons.
Well, do you know why that is, Bob? Because they see
I don't know.
they see it on the living level. They're the ones working with that stuff all the time. And they know what they're seeing is not working as well as it could. And they know that you get outcomes. So it's sometimes there we go against the evidence-based stuff. And if I was thinking, I have this issue, I got this thing happening, and I know this guy has great outcomes with this, but no, I won't do this because it's not evidence-based.
Well, here's the line that came from this woman, a highly skilled lady in her early 50s, and she said to me, remember, I've never met her before, we're only talking on the phone. She was ultra open with me for a phone call, making a consultation, and we just started chatting, and she said, the incredible thing is this, I know how this stuff works. She said, we're kind of like psychiatrists, but we're psychiatric nurses, yeah?
Yeah.
But she says, here's the deal. We know what it is. We know it's only in their imagination and their psyche. But, she said, when the voices come to you, you watch your whole world change.
That's right. Anyway, on that, we're going to go to break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. See you then. Perfect.
It's going very well.
Engineer, how much time do we have left? For the
Oh,
whole
you're going to
show?
have about 16 minutes.
16, 1-6?
Okay.
Perfect. And you're going to run that straight through, right? No breaks.
What?
Yeah, after this, or this is the last break.
Okay.
You're on all the way till close.
Oh,
Okay, 16 minutes to close.
Oh, so did you decide that when I wasn't looking?
No, he
Oh, okay. That's okay. That's great.
did. You
Did you hear that, Bob? We got 16 minutes to go, and then you can go and watch the game.
Okay.
do you want to talk about why you want to investigate the plant life? What drove you to that, or just is it worth it talking about it?
If you ask me that question, I'll answer it. And then we'll go into what I'm doing for the rest of the year. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have to ask that. You can ask. Did you want to talk about the retreat you're putting together?
Well, I'm going to mention it and see if we can get some kind of comments of yes, yeah, yay, yay.
Well, you can ask about what we're going to be doing in Holland. I'm taking a whole bunch of people to Holland to do ayahuasca.
Yeah.
All hypnotherapists. And I just got invited, by the way, yesterday from a friend of Anthony Jackman's to go to Peru.
Oh, that's nice.
So that would be quite cool. Well, I don't know if it's nice. It's a person at the end of a phone, but it looks, and they don't speak much English.
Well, the
We'll
thing
see what
is, I think I'd love to go to Peru, but I have to be physically in pretty good shape to go there.
Why is that?
Because it's very,
Machu Picchu.
if I want to go to Machu Picchu.
All of Peru is not Machu Picchu.
I know that.
They have flat bits.
But if I'm going, I know, but if I want to go to Machu Picchu,
You've got to go, have you?
Yeah, and then I really want to have good oxygen assimilation, blah blah, because it's high up, all that. And
But
I
if
know
we go there, we want to. Lee wants to go to the Galapagos. If we go there,
Yeah, that's what he said.
that would be incredible.
I'm not sure if it would be incredible. I mean, you go there, you see a bird with blue feet and a big tortoise. What's the deal? Seriously, I can't think of. And it's all. I hear it's all now commercialized.
Oh,
It's boats on top of boats on top of boats surrounding an island.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, that's the end of the good things. Usually.
Where do they put all the bird poop now then? If there's full of bird poop.
The guano? Yeah. I don't know. We can get into other shit stories.
Nothing better than shit stories. I'll tell you that for
Already, here we go.
Okay.
It's everywhere. The Simpson Protocol. To reach the show today, please call into 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Inez. That's INES at InezSimpson.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Well, welcome back to Hypnosis Everywhere, and with my guest, Bob Burns. And first thing I want to say first is that Bob and I have something up our sleeve, and I'm not sure if he remembers, but the two of us we're thinking about creating a spiritual type. You don't have to be totally spiritual, just open to possibility. That's all I need from anybody to be, is open to possibility, and having a retreat here in my area of the world here, and maybe even we'll get into some of the maybe shamanic work besides. I have a shaman friend we could bring in and a few other things. We haven't really put it together. We've just chatted about it. But what I know is I'm sure there'll be interest. So I'd like anyone who is interested to prod us a little bit so we get it together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Bob, I know there's one more thing you're doing where the plant thing, you're going to Amsterdam or somewhere, aren't you?
Yeah, well, we were just talking there, and you were asking how this all came about, this change in my life. I've never been into drugs at all. I did a little bit because I'm a 60s boy, but nothing too heavy at all. But when I saw that, and a lot of your listeners will have heard it or seen it on YouTube, this wonderful film, The Spirit Molecule, where they got a whole heap of physicists to take a plant-based drug, a DMT. And the interesting thing is that when they came back, they all said, collectively, oh my God, we think it's real. And when that happened, of course, all of Europe, the United Kingdom, Canada, America, Australia, banned it within 24 hours. So I found that interesting. But what they did when they banned it within 24 hours is everybody in the world went, that's, why would they do that? In fact, I know right now within the last week that DMT vapes are being sold all over the world. You can all buy this stuff in a vape. Anyway, as you know, my forum, it's got about 1,800 members. So I put a thing out for a bit of fun, about 4 weeks ago, saying, hi guys, then you fancy doing a bit of DMT, keep it legal, we'd have to leave the country. Or maybe even an ayahuasca in Peru. And I expected maybe 5 or 6 people to be interested, but instead we got like 50 queries. And I had this thought of 50 people and 2 shaman in the jungle in Peru, kind of being sick and pooing on each other as these 2 shaman run about totally lost, thinking, what's going on? But what we are doing is we're going to kick off. We're going to go to Holland, and we're going to get all the numbers in by this August. And we want to see if we can take this wonderful thing that we hear of, this ayahuasca, this DMT, and link it to hypnosis at the same time. Yeah, link it to hypnosis at the same time, and see if there's a blend there that we can find. Now, I'm involved with a couple of other psychologists, a couple of people who get involved with the plant-based drug itself, and we're going to see where we go with it. But we've also got a couple of doctors on board, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So we'll get back to you on that.
Do you know what's interesting, though? I think we can, I totally believe that DMT can open that reality. And I believe that we can create that with hypnosis too, opening that reality. And I know I've worked with people before who have, let's say, taken some drugs in the past, and that they can actually, I can get them to re-access that field. And
yes, of course.
So, of course, once you have experienced
or at least, so one of 2 things will happen. Is either you're getting them to reactivate that, or you're getting them to believe that they're reactivating that. And by the way, both of these things might be the same.
Yeah, they might be the same. But either way, they get the experience that they're looking for. And that's interesting. And there's all kinds of interesting things about it, because it does open up the whole idea of spirituality to them. And lots of times, many of them, when they were just hadn't taken the drug, they were not open to that. So it does shift something somewhere in their belief systems because of what they perceive as that new reality. Because they all say, like you say, that was real,
Yeah. So the DMT one for me, I don't think what they call breaking through. If I'm going to be honest, I need to be honest.
You need to get closer to the mic again.
Yeah. When it never happened for me. I never what they could call breaking through. That never really happened. But I got into a wonderful place where I was sitting in my bed, openly talking to plants inside somewhere else. Not plants in my room, but plants somewhere else.
Yeah.
And having a wonderful discussion where they were just hugging me. They kept spraying me as well. I don't quite understand that. But suddenly my cat in the room jumped up and meowed. And they said, oh, she's lovely. So now we've got this crazy situation where the plants are saying to me, oh, she's lovely, what's her name? And I'm saying, Cassie, oh, she's lovely. And I'm thinking, shit, I'm in 2 different realities here, but I'm not doped up. It's not like drugs. As soon as it wears off, and it does within 8-9 minutes, you can jump in your car and drive. It's, it's just your complete clarity. Mm-hmm. So I found it completely fascinating to, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to try some of this stuff with. Well, I'm going to try and get involved a little bit more deep on this stuff to see how this stuff is made. Obviously not in this country, because that would be illegal. So I won't be doing it here. So I definitely won't be doing it here because it's illegal. So
I think we got that.
Okay.
So let's move on to what are you doing in the next while to do the different trainings? Let's talk about what you're up to.
Well, I'm doing very little apart from doing mentoring. I've got 4 or 5 people I'm mentoring. I have got 3 people I'm mentoring between now and near the end of August. And I'm going off to Las Vegas. I'm doing a workshop on the 21st and the 22nd at the Orleans Hotel. And then, of course, on the 24th, 25th, and 26th, that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's a Hypnothoughts convention. Mm-hmm. Where I'm doing a lecture of 1/2 day on the Saturday, and they just recently asked if I'd like to do a 1-hour talk on something else. So that'll be interesting. There's a Scottish convention the month after that. That's going to be in Stirling here. And my good friend Kelly T. Woods is coming over. I'm going to spend some time with Kelly. We have the Healing Convention. There's going to be in Edinburgh in September, a one-day special. I've no idea what's happening there. It's a bit scary. We wanted it to be for free, and I thought I might as well charge everybody 30 quid to cover expenses. I've got too much money now, so I'm going to have to buy them sandwiches. But in October, I go off to Denmark and Belgium. And again, like I said, I'm going to Australia and New Zealand in November. But I just got some requests to do. In fact, we just confirmed that I'm going to be working with Car in Hand next March in Chicago. And the lovely Jason Lynette. I'm going to go down to Virginia the weekend after that.
Yeah, all the great people, we stick together.
Yeah, lovely. And as we were just talking about off air there, I just had a query yesterday for Peru. I'd love to go to Peru. That would be just fantastic.
Peru is great. But getting back to Vegas, what are you teaching in Vegas?
Well, in Vegas, we're doing the whole thing. We're doing the whole gambit like I've always done. The swan. I'm concentrating on my presentation, which I call the wall, which is my consultation. Now, I know that to train somebody in hypnosis, they need at least 6 months under the belt of tuition. After that, it should be mentoring all the way. But I truly believe if you give somebody a good rapport and a fair intelligence, if you give them a good consultation that they absolutely know, you can skill them on that. They can go and work with people immediately and take away their pain.
Yeah.
I know that because it's happened. You do it all the time. So I'm going to be teaching fully for the first time ever and giving out hard copy my full consultation. So for the first time ever, people will leave with my written words, the verbs, the nouns, the
I want
hesitation,
them to know
the
how difficult that is for people like us, because we are big picture people. We're not good at doing the minutiae, so we have to to get into a different space to be able to write that all down. And it's sort of it's a big chore. Luckily, I have Martin, but it's not easy because people think we're just winging it, and it's not. There is structure to everything we do, and getting it down on paper is always not the easiest thing.
Well, that's right. In fact, I like to hand people this thing that I do. I open up by saying, "What do you think? Do you think you could spot?" You think you could spot somebody using a script? And they all laugh and say, well, yes, of course I could. And I say, well, let's find out. Then I'll do a presentation. And then I'll say, do you think that was a script? And they'll say no. Then I'll hand them out the wording of it. And then we'll do it again. And they'll discover that I am completely scripted. Yeah.
But there's no such thing as unscripted. Because we're not using a paper is what people are calling scripting. But we do everything, and we'll do different things, but we always do them the same or improve them. Like but we're always on a structure and a pattern. So I don't see how you cannot be scripted. There's just no way not to be scripted, because we are scripting ourselves as we get into it. And just because we can say it without reading it, and we come off because we know it inside out, it still has one time.
I have this lovely friend in Melbourne, Marina Markashev.
Mm-hmm.
When I first met Marina 3 years ago, I said, so how do you do this? She says, I just go with the flow. And I must have looked horrified. I could see her cowering. And she says, what is it? I said, well, I just would never go with the flow. I understood what she said, and she's excellent at what she does. Of course she is. But
I consider I go with the flow, but I have a structured flow.
Absolutely. I mean, if I've got a problem with my electricity tomorrow morning, I can pick up the phone and phone the electricity board and go with the flow, and I might win. Or I can take 5 minutes and script myself. Yeah. So when I pick up the phone, I know exactly what I'm going to hit. Now, it might not be a script in this, but it'll be a template. Right?
Yes, that's probably the best
every single thing I need to hit.
Yes.
When I go into the therapy room and somebody's got severe depression, I need a template with me.
Yes.
As skilled as I am, I need a template, and I need to hit every single station in that journey.
And that gets to the piece of, everybody says, oh, it's so bad to use scripts, but it isn't bad to use scripts because we all use them in a different way. That's all.
Yeah. I think in the early days when I picked up and read a script, that was then. I would never do that now. I'm not knocking it, but I personally would never do that now.
No.
I'm scripted inside my head. Or if you like, I'm trained. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and plus, we've done this so long that your ideas flow much easier out and you can say them. And before, when we first started, it's just the confidence level that you might want to read them. And that's the only difference, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we got a couple minutes left. So anything you want to tie up in the last couple minutes?
I don't.
I want to say something. One is that you do the Swan by Skype or Zoom or whatever. You can do it.
Yeah, I'll do
You don't have
sessions
to
with
be in the
anyone,
same-
anywhere in the world. Yeah, absolutely.
So
And to contact me,
that out there.
they'll contact me online. That's lifelinehypnotherapy.com, all one word.
Yeah, and we've got all the information on Voice America on the page there, and they can access that. And your trainings are always, we have entertainment as well as teaching, because you entertain and teach, and that's how we learn much easier anyway. The laughter helps a lot. And laughter helps in many things, in healing and all kinds of stuff. And you're really a master at the story.
Well, they've got to have, nobody says we can't have fun in the therapy room. Yeah?
Yeah, and I just want to promote your mentoring, and I mentor people too. We do it in two totally different ways. Sorry, my mouth wasn't working. And we are always, what we do is we take someone from lack of confidence to where they are confident. And we don't want them, at least I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily want them to make them like me. That isn't what the purpose is. Mm-hmm. The purpose is to show what we do and how we got there and how we can help them get to where they need to get. Yeah,
it was a guy called William Clement Stone, a guy from Chicago, who wrote many years ago. He wrote a thing called R2A2, 2 R's and 2 A's. And he said to be successful in life, you have to do the 2 R's, which is recognize and relate. And the 2 A's were assimilate and actionize. And I loved it. Yeah.
That's great. So that's a great way to end the show, Bob. That was really great. I want to thank you for being here, and I'm going to let you go and watch your footy.
Yep, going to watch the footy. Okay. Thanks, America. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Love you guys. See you next time.
Much love, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob.
All clear.
Thank you. And you better go and see what the score is.
Excuse my bad manners, guys. I have got a sirloin steak.
England is up 1.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Bastard. Absolute butt. Somebody kick him.
I love soccer or football, whatever you guys want to call it today, but it's my sport.
I saw the goal. It's okay. I saw the goal in the corner of my eye.
I wanted Belgium and France, or I wanted Belgium and Croatia in the finals. But
no.
Oh, Belgium, yay.
Gypsy.
Okay.
Bye,
we'll
Bob.
see you.
Bye, guys.
See you next week.
We'll talk soon, okay?
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot and goodbye.
Thank you, engineer.
Thank you, engineer, always.